Whose Turn Is It Anyway? A podcast all about our gaming group and, of course, board games. I'm Becky, your current first player, and I'm joined by the other players, JP.
Hello.
Adrian.
Hello.
And Ian.
Hello.
And this week we're going to talk about the tricky subject of teaching new board games to other players. Learning games is something that I find particularly unpleasant and really have to make myself do, which has been a barrier to playing new games in the past. Maybe I will pick up some tips. How is everyone doing today?
Yeah, I'm pretty much crawling because I played squash this morning.
Oh.
So, yeah, like an idiot.
Exercise is not good for
you.
you.
Well, me and Chris, Chris from the pod, we had a game this morning and yeah, I'm knackered. I'm absolutely knackered. So if I fall asleep, it'll be business as usual.
Which bodes well because
let you sleep. It's fine.
Yeah. Shut him up.
Bodes well because we're playing next week, so hopefully you'll still be tired then.
I'll still be
have some sort of advantage.
Yeah, I'll still be shitting, so don't worry. But we're all good.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So let's talk about Hex, where we chat about the games we've played recently. JP, do you want to start?
I can start, yeah. I've had a pretty much a brilliant weekend of gaming, mainly on chip theory games, so I'm a happy boy. I've got a good Too Many Bones game in, which was fantastic to get Chris P playing the game for his first time. But I'm not going to talk about that because, let's face it, I've done an episode on it, so let's not keep talking about it.
JP can see us all glaring at him.
Yeah,
Stop talking about Too Many Bones.
It's not the Too Many Bones podcast.
It's embarrassing at this point.
I know. So I'm actually going to talk about the game I played last night, which was Istanbul, which is quite an old game. I don't know when it came out. It's 20-something, early, 10, 12, 14, something around that mark.
We should have talked about it in our games that stand the test of time.
Yeah, I forgot. To be honest, I forgot this game even existed. I played it for the first time about 5 years ago, and I played it in a lunch hour, and that's pretty much how quick you can play this game. Yeah. You can play it in an hour. That's one of its strengths, actually. But for those that don't know what the hell I'm talking about, Istanbul is essentially, it's a very kind of lightweight Euro game, again set in Istanbul, which is represented by 16 tiles, or maybe 25 if you got the expansion. And they're these kind of rectangular tiles that you set up on the board, all got numbers on there, all have different kind of areas of the city that you can go and visit, whether it's markets, whether it's the tea house, which was a personal favourite of mine.
Yeah,
pretty much gambling.
You did like the tea house, didn't you?
I love the tea house, yeah. Although we probably should have been a bit more varied with the numbers that we.
I started off with seven. Seven works well, I think.
And yes, you got all these different areas, different abilities that you can kind of go. And the whole premise of the game is that you need to get the first to pretty much 5 gemstones ends the game, and obviously the most gemstones wins, and then the tie-break conditions in that. But the whole kind of mechanic of the game is, it's pretty much like if Snake met a Euro board game. So you kind of have this stack of like assistants, and your merchant sits on the top, and the whole thing is you're moving around this city, and everywhere you move you have to deposit one of your assistants, and you're kind of leaving a trail of your assistants all over the city. And then by the end of it, when you kind of left most of them across the board, you're getting quite restricted about where you can go. So you have to either go back on yourself to pick them back up, or if you can get to the fountain, which is kind of in the middle, where you can kind of, like Avengers Assemble and everyone comes back together, and you can kind of go off and do different things. But it's lightweight, it's quick, it's very quick turns, it flies around, and before you know it, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and someone's ended the game. You're like, oh, God, Jesus, that was fast.
Yeah, it seems to be that, I was sat on 2 gems for ages, and you then suddenly had 5. It's like, hello. Where did all those gems go?
Efficiency, baby.
Yeah.
So JP was cheating.
Was
he in charge of the gem bank?
No,
by any chance?
The gems are all on the board. So it was my first game of this as well, and I actually really enjoyed it. I managed to watch a quick video while I was at work.
You didn't know you were playing. I
originally wasn't, and then was. So had to sort of gen up on how it works, and actually it's really, really easy to learn. But yeah, fun. I really enjoyed it.
I think for me, because I've been playing so much heavy games lately, like my brain's been going for the mincer, and then just to kind of play a game where you have to think, but it's it's kind of clear cut what your plan is and strategies, and you're just going for it. You didn't have to worry about all this complexity and rules and things like that. It was just quite nice just to play. So yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was.
Not much female representation in the old tiles.
I was going to mention this.
I have to say, beautiful artwork, really nice, really like it. I mean,
what a sexist game.
perhaps
isn't it?
it's maybe representative of Istanbul. I don't know, maybe even now. I don't know, or probably in the past. But
Chuck a woman
have
in
a
there.
woman in the spice market, or sitting by the fountain, or something.
Yeah.
There's not one picture.
Is there not even like a brothel or something?
No.
That'd
No.
be the standard like
Nothing.
thin end of the wedge.
No,
Shut Up
nothing.
and Sit Down did a bit of it on their video of like, come on, you've republished this as well,
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah, we got the big box edition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So literally the latest edition. Yeah, you're right. It's just
doesn't-
dudes everywhere.
It doesn't have to have people in it. People aren't useful. You're not interacting with them or
They're just
whatever.
flavour anyway.
There's just artwork on the board. It
right.
doesn't really, you're not having to go somewhere to talk to a particular person or whatever.
Mm.
So you don't need anybody really.
Was it cheaper to get an artist who could only draw blokes?
Maybe. Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Probably what
stick
it
some
was.
eyelashes on one and a pretty
And a
scarf or
wig.
something. Anything, but nothing.
And a
There's
blonde
nothing.
wig from Turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's fun.
I enjoyed it.
It's, yeah.
I enjoyed it. Adrian, how about you?
So just to quickly mention a game with chips involved that I played, which was Marvel Splendor. So quite enjoyed that. I played the base one, I think, once, maybe a long, long time ago in a galaxy far away. But got the Marvel version. Great fun, adds a little bit more to it. Yeah, it was on sale, so I nabbed it and
Why
played
not?
that at the weekend. That
Okay.
was pretty good. But the one I really wanted to talk about was Carnegie. So, JP, you brought this to the table. And I wasn't expecting what turned up at the table, I'll be honest. I'd kind of tried to watch a few videos of how to play. Normally, like I'm religious, I always try and make sure I watch a video beforehand. For some reason, it just wasn't holding my interest when I was watching the video. The game was good, just not what I was expecting, and it really threw me. I said at the end of the game, didn't I? I'm just not sure about this.
He won as well, by the way.
Yeah, I did, but it's still not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not necessarily a deciding factor in whether I like a game or not. It can
It's for
help.
some.
Yeah, it can help, but so ultimately what you're doing is you're kind of building an industry. You've got a little sort of building in front of you that you're putting various departments in, and then you've got a map of America, and you are building out an infrastructure, almost like Power Grid-esque out. You're putting all your infrastructures in different cities and you're trying to link them all up. And then there's like a set number of turns where you move like the action. Someone picks an action, it moves along, and then it sort of activates an area, and everything you've got in that area then gives you income or something like that. And it's a very complex, well, it's not a very complex, but it is a heavy game for sure. I wasn't going in expecting the level I had to keep track of everyone else and what they were doing, because you can really, if you look at the next couple of players, it's one of those games where you can really see what they're going to go after. You can say, well, they're only going to pick one of these two things. If I pick that first, they'll pick it second. I can line up for it. And I was expecting kind of just be able to build my own little engine. It looked like one of those games where you could, watch other people a little bit, but really build your own engine. And it's not at all. You really have to keep a very close eye on all your opponents, and so it kind of threw me in that respect. So I kind of came out the game going, that was a lot of effort for what sort of game it is. It's heavy. It's not massively heavy, but I would sort of put it brass Birmingham level, I think I said at the time.
Yeah, you did.
It's maybe a little bit off of that, a little bit below that, but it's around that weight of game. So it's a fairly heavy game, but it really is watching absolutely everyone, because if you're not set up for it, you just waste a turn. Everyone gets to activate and you get to watch everyone doing all their wonderful stuff, and you just sit there and go, I'll move one person to that department. There's my turn done. And I think that's what really threw me. Was there's a couple of turns I had where I hadn't figured out quite what was going on, because it was first game, learning game. And there was just this I've got to do one thing because I wasn't paying attention to the next person along. Just kind of gave you that feel bad. I think there was the bit that got me, and I having thought about it afterwards, I was like, yeah, that's the bit that I didn't like.
Yeah.
I didn't like not having a good turn on somebody else's turn
It's out of
almost.
your control.
Yeah, it's totally out of your control. Yeah. I haven't set up for it. Maybe I missed the signs of what was going on or whatever. And yeah, it's kind of within my power. But yeah, it just kind of, there was some bits in there I really wasn't sure on. There was some bits that I really did like. I liked building the department. I liked the idea of setting up that Power Grid-esque infrastructure on the board.
Mm-hmm.
It was just how much it took out of watch. I felt like I had to be eagle-eyed the whole time, switched on the entire game. There's no chance to just have 2 minutes of brain down.
It's not a relaxing, not like Istanbul, right?
Yeah.
Which was relaxing.
Would you play it again?
Yeah, I would play it again, absolutely. As I said at the time, and I still think it fits is that I would probably, for the amount of energy and the complexity of it, I'd probably still prefer to play Brass Birmingham. But I wouldn't, if someone said, let's get Carnegie to the table again, I wouldn't say no or anything like that. It's just, I've got other preferred games of that weight. Of game for sure.
It's one of those games like you get 20 actions in the whole game, right? There's only 20 actions that can happen. In a 4-player game, you pick 5 of them.
Okay.
Because it's shared across all 4 of you.
And then does everyone else get to do those actions that you've picked as well?
Yeah,
okay.
And that's the stick of it, right?
Yeah.
So if I pick on a HR, which is the action that allows me to move all my workers to the different departments to get them set up, and I could do that, and then Adrian has to do it, and then Ian have to do it, and then Becky will have to do it, and it might not be optimal. You might be like, don't want to do HR, it's crap. I've got everyone where I want them to be.
You're trying to string together actions that other people have selected.
Correct. Which is why you need to pay attention.
You need to have a plan so that then the thing you've selected actually is useful. Right?
So it takes a lot of, if you're just used to doing multiplayer solitaire games, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, I love them, then you just worry about what you're doing. Maybe I need to check that board space because I want to go there before you, and that's the level of interaction in this game. But Carnegie has a lot more because you're having to try and work out what your person to the left is doing, person to the right. Maybe less so the one like directly opposite, but still it matters. And if you like that, great. If you don't, it's not going to win you over.
I think you've even done it sort of injustice there, because not only is it pick an action, so I've got to keep an eye on what action. It has a region that goes with it. So these 4 trackers can all move down. So you're looking at the next 4 spots. So maybe 2 of them activate the Midwest America, one of them's the South, one of them's the East, or whatever it is. And so you're kind of trying to back where your income's coming from at the same time as, well, if they do that action, then I've got to be set up for income in this area. If they do that action, I've got to be set up to do that, but also have income from that area. And there's a lot of like overlapping bits you really have to have a handle on in that game. Like, it is great. I think I've completely glossed over the theme. Bad teach of Adrian, but it's essentially we'll clear that up. Yeah. But essentially, it is just it's a guy building his empire. And then you get donation spots, which are basically how you earn VP, and very little else otherwise.
I mean, the theme is loose. Come on.
And so it's about him then sort of taking that wealth and donating it to local areas and stuff like that. But the donations are basically here, like, have your victory points almost of sort of put down what you think you're going to get victory points for. But yeah, it's good. It's not at the top of my list by any shot, but I certainly would play it again.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, because you compared it to Brass, probably on its weight and kind of similar thinkiness. But obviously for me, they're completely different games. I actually prefer Brass.
Yeah.
Out of the two, just no point me buying it, is there? Because there's at least 2 people in the group who've got Brass.
Yeah. Well, mine is literally the other end of the spectrum, although not as much as I thought. So I actually finally received my copy of Zuuli.
Hooray!
Which is just an amazing little box game by Unfringed. Really simple premise of card drafting. So I've only played it 2-player. So you start with 9 cards each, you pick one, you give the other 8 to the other, you swap cards, pick another one, swap cards. And then basically you fit what you've chosen into your zoo, following like really easy to understand parameters. Like, if you've got an enclosure that is a size 6, you can't put animals that total a size 7 in there. Simple things. And is this animal okay to live in plains or jungle or whatever?
That kind of puzzly criteria type.
Yeah. Also, some of the animals can go in enclosures together, so they're either friendly or fierce. So like, you can't put a lion with a tree frog. I mean, you actually in real life you probably could, but that's not the point. But you can't in this game.
But it will muller the tree frog.
Yes. Yeah. So, and you can score sort of more points depending on the multiplier of the enclosure. Like vivariums give you ×2 or whatever. So it's really simple. So you're basically just kind of trying to min-max the animals you've got into the enclosures. The designer, Chris Prescott, seems really, really friendly, and he's really active on social media. And I really wish I'd gone to the stall at the UKGE, because it would have been really nice to kind of see, the person behind it all.
One to put on the list for next year.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, yeah, I hope that. I think they're reprinting the game, so I don't know that you can buy it currently, or maybe they had a couple of boxes left. But a reprint is imminent with an expansion. I would say that don't make the mistake that just because the artwork is quite child friendly, that this game is just for children, because I don't think it is. I have got a reminder on my phone to back the expansion, because that comes out on GameFound in a couple of days. But when they reprint, the expansion is going to be released with the base game. So
the people that bought the original game don't feel like they're missing out,
yeah,
or they have to rebuy the whole thing again.
And Chris was quite vocal on the GameFound site saying, you guys are the ones that bought it, are the ones that made this, actual.
I think that's really good.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't do any more than that except give it to people who bought the original game for free, and
it's
that's
only,
clearly not practical.
No, it's only a few cards, but that'll just add a little bit more variation. I think each game only lasts about 15 minutes, so it's perfect to play just, while your dinner's cooking, or maybe as a break between like a big old game like Twilight Imperium or something like that.
Or
so
half time, Zuuli, everyone.
Yeah, it's just quick. It's really,
so
really
could play
quick.
it between turns in Twilight Imperium. He's sorting something out. Let's have a quick game of Zuuli on the side.
Just some trade negotiations going on for 20 minutes. Zuuli, everyone.
I mean, Curly has obviously beaten me every single time, although it was very close one game. So, I'm taking that as a moral victory.
So when you made your comment about the artwork looking child friendly, was it in reference to Curly's reaction to the game?
Yeah, so he saw the artwork and was like, and I think he was assuming it's a game for children, and I'll be honest, I assumed that too when I saw the stall at the UKGE, because it's very bright, colourful, friendly looking animals. Even the grizzly bear's smiling,
right?
So it's nice little pictures, and I did mention
it all quite cartoony style as well.
Yeah,
right?
But it's a really good really good game. Would recommend.
Look forward to give it a go.
Yeah, Ian, how about you?
So, little peek behind the curtain for listeners. We're recording this episode pretty soon after the last episode that I was on, which is my roundabout way of making an excuse for the fact that I haven't played any other games since the last.
Still hasn't shown up for anything.
I still haven't shown up for anything. I'm trying.
Strike two, Ian.
It was literally a few days ago that we recorded last. So
well, I've played lots of games since then. So
yes, and so has JP and Adrian, I'm sure, which is why I'm the imposter here and just a fake board gamer. I'll talk about later some of the things I'm looking forward to though, because I am looking to get into a few games that are coming up soon.
Cool.
But in slightly non-board gaming related stuff, I've been watching Westworld, which I don't know whether anyone else here has watched.
Stopped at season 2. End of season 2. I've not
I did as well.
Yet.
I actually only watched season 1, and then a colleague at work encouraged me and said, look, season 4's just finished and season 5's coming and it gets really good. And I was like, okay, well, I really enjoyed the first season, and I'm not, just in case anyone's worried, I'm not going to give any spoilers for Westworld because
Cowboys.
There's lots of twists along the way. But
I haven't seen it, so don't.
It's very, very good sci-fi. Androids, robots, the nature of reality, all that good stuff. And the TV show is incredibly well done, like massively high budget, great cast, including the likes of Anthony Hopkins. It's just absolutely stellar. So I'm currently working my way through the 4th season now. I've managed to get almost up to date. Annoyingly, I bought a Now TV pass to watch it, and they promptly removed it from Now TV. So I've had to buy it off Prime. So I feel like I have to get my money's worth. So I'm working through that at the moment. But yeah, it's very good. In the later seasons, Aaron Paul, aka of Breaking Bad fame, does join the cast and is quite a major character.
Nice.
And it's really good actually. Although in the 4th season, he seems to be doing his best job of cosplaying as David Tennant, I would say. Anyone who's seen season 4 will understand why. But there's a number of times where I've seen him come onto screen and gone, and had to remind myself, that's Aaron Paul. That's not David Tennant, because he looks very much like him, which is weird because they don't really look alike.
No, not at all.
Is it just a suit and Converses?
It's a suit and beard and floppy hairstyle,
right? Okay.
All combined, and a kind of serious, dour expression
and a Scottish accent.
Well, that's where it falls apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you make a board game of it?
Oh, you could make a Westworld board game. I'm surprised there isn't one. In fact, I don't know that there isn't one. We'll have to check on Board Game Geek, but
there's not a good one that I know of.
Yeah, there's probably like a really terrible one from the 90s or something. But no, definitely, it's got all that. You could have lots of stuff. You could do Battlestar type hidden role things like, are they a host? Are they not a host? Do they know they're a host? There's lots of interesting things, and all the different parks you can imagine geographically, and actually there's a lot of good flavour there for a game. So any developers out there who want to spend millions on the Westworld IP, go for it.
I was going to say, you heard it here first, and maybe it's happening right now, and we're going to look really kind of
like just prescient. Yeah, exactly. But so I've been enjoying that. and not playing any board games. So sorry.
Boo.
Sorry.
Boo.
I'm sorry.
Strike two, Ian.
Don't kick me out.
Strike two, mate.
I promise before the next time I'm on the podcast, I will have at least played one board game.
that's
That
what
Ian
he
joins
said.
in episode 36, where he's played another
It's going to be
board.
embarrassing
We've
if
got
it gets
36
around.
episodes. That's good to hear.
It's going to be embarrassing if I end up being first player and it's like, yeah, I still haven't played any games.
No,
but,
we're not giving you first.
No,
play
I'm
until you
aware
play
of
some
that.
games. That's the rule.
Well, with that then, I guess we better make our way on to the main event.
Let's do that.
So our main topic then. Some people seem naturally gifted at the teach, and we've got a couple of those around the table today. Looking at you, Adrian and JP. And Ian, I think, sits firmly in the camp of this is something I just have to endure as the price of admission to hopefully finding a new game to love.
Yeah,
But
and I think me and you are in the same boat,
Yeah.
right? Where we quite openly hate learning
Yeah.
games.
But that's not to say you're not a good teacher, but like I say, it is nice to have a fellow I don't like to be told person with me
Yeah.
on this side
Not
of the
telling you
table.
what to do. Just telling you the
Well, the
rules.
thing is, I like being told what to do. It's being
Hello.
told. No,
Have you got a contract?
easy.
Noted.
Being told what you can do and having no idea what you should do is the bit that I find frustrating. But
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get into that more.
So I guess this is where I throw it to you guys to sort of talk about what you think about the teach and
Yeah, I
what is
think
good about it. And
I think it's quite good. We've got a yin and yang kind of situation.
Yeah.
Because
We're even sat on opposing ends
We
of
are,
the
yeah.
table. It's like the Jedi Masters and the
Sith.
young Padawans.
Oh, I went the Sith.
Oh,
I
well,
literally did
you know,
that.
if that's who you align with, then
There is
that's-
only
that's
two
up
of
to you.
us.
Always. Until Adrian sticks a knife in my neck or something and takes over. But no, I mean, for me, the teach, I love the whole process of it. Right from, purchasing the game and knowing that you're going to have to dive in that box of goodies and learn the damn thing. For me, it's probably one of the most favourite parts of playing board games, to be honest. Hence why I keep buying them, because that's the
Yeah,
fix that I
that
keep
is-
getting.
Do you also love the bit where you message in the WhatsApp group, giving everyone very clear links to videos they could watch to learn a bit about the game, and then them turning up and no one having watched it?
Yeah.
Is that another favourite of yours?
it's funny because that is a big point of what I wanted to kind of bring on. Really, what is the onus on the learner to do the homework? To watch the game? I mean, whose responsibility is it?
We had a chat about this very briefly.
We
It is
did,
interesting.
yeah.
You can see it a number of ways, can't you? I think that if the teacher has taken the time to point you in some materials beforehand, and they're not super onerous, like
2
it'll
hours long.
Yeah, if you're like, oh, we're going to play TI for the first time at the weekend. Here's a 4-hour playthrough video that will get you
4
some
hour?
of the way started.
You're lucky.
Yeah. It was a 2-player game. It was a solo play.
Yeah,
It was a time lapse video, was it?
Yeah, it was. It was at 20x. But
we did chat about this yesterday, didn't we? And we had kind of differing opinions, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion, for what it's worth, is if you've bought the game, obviously, and for me, it's like I'm excited, and this comes because I'm very excited about getting the game and learning the game. But I think if you're hosting, then there's definitely an onus on the host to make sure that everybody's experience at the table is good.
Yeah.
And that the host has prepared.
Yeah.
Which is for me the most important thing. I've been to many a game night where the host hasn't prepared. Rule books are being handed out.
Yeah.
And it's,
go on, throw some shade.
No,
Let's
I'm
get
not
some
gonna throw
names
shade,
out
but,
there.
but it has happened, and it's fine. But it kind of and suddenly you're like you're coming to a game night, and now I've got to learn by reading the rule book at the time I'm trying to.
It
play
makes
the
everything
game.
drag, doesn't it?
It does make it drag.
slows everything down, and you have a bad time.
So for me, if the host is uber prepared and has done all the homework, we can go through some of the kind of topics and points of that in a bit. Then they've got everything in their toolkit to prepare everybody at the table of varying different degrees of being asked to learn, right?
And I think that's fair. And to be honest, from my experience of playing games that you've hosted, that's one of the things you're really, really good at. Is you are always so well prepared. You not necessarily know the rules inside out, but you know how to resolve the questions that are going to come up very quickly, even if it still needs a look in the book.
Yeah.
It's a case of, well, we'll ask JP, and then if JP needs to look in the book, he'll look, and he'll probably know where to look as well. He'll have some, you're just helping everyone else smooth out their experience.
For me, I think that's the host's responsibility. So if you came to my game night and I was hosting and you go, actually, I'm not sure how this is resolved, and if I don't know the answer, I'll find out.
Yeah.
and we'll work it out and go, right,
Yeah.
And we've had instances of that. Are you sure? Can I have a look at the rule book?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you get, well, I didn't see it interpreted that way and all that. But that's just rules.
And that's fine. You're never gonna. It's never gonna be.
So you end up making the decision. You get on with the life. Get on with life. But
I think there's one caveat for that, and it's one of my very first full-on board game days was planned to this game takes 2 hours. We'll put a 2 hour 10-minute slot in for it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was planned down to that level. Everyone who turned up to that day had agreed to learn the rules in advance because you've only got a 9-hour day, 10-hour day, whatever you're budgeting for, and you want to make the most of being around a load of friends who've got all these games and we're going to play them all, and let's ignore the teach and just crack through as many games as we can in that time. If you're signing up for that kind of contract, which to some extent, if someone says, look, please watch this, is part of that contract. The onus isn't on them to have learned it fully, but if I've posted a video, it's probably for a good reason. Either it's complicated or it's a 4-hour game, we've got a 4-hour slot, I want you to know it. Anything like that where someone posts a video or says, this is the contract we've signed up for, basically is to say, if we're playing this game, we come knowledgeable,
and
that's
kind of what I was getting at. Was I think if the host has taken the effort to provide you with some guidance, it maybe it's not your responsibility or your duty, but I think it's polite. It would be rude not to. I guess is how I would see it. To turn up to a game and go, well, I haven't got a clue what's going on. Tell me everything. And it's well, I posted a video a week ago. It was a 20-minute video. Did you not watch it? If I was the host, I'd feel a bit narked off if someone did that. So I try to not do that myself.
No, I agree with you, Adrian. I think it's a great point. I don't kind of sit on that end of the spectrum and say, I'm the host and I will teach you everything you ever need to know. You don't need to do anything, because that's just crap, right? And agree where time is precious and you're trying to crank through loads of games. Then you just want to play games. You don't want to be teaching all the time, because it's tiring and it's knackering. But and I do that with some games. I think I'm not going to put a video on because I can do the teach in 10 minutes. It's fairly straightforward. And then there's games like Tricarion, where I'm putting a video on because it's complex. And at least if you have that primer, you come in with something. And like I say, in that game, you just get the one core concept of that game. I can get you the rest of the way there. It's cool. Just learn that bit.
Do you feel like the heavier the game, the more likely it is that you need that kind of prep in advance, right? Again, taking an extreme example like TI, when we were at the 24-hour board game marathon, there was a group playing TI, and they had 2 players who had never played before.
They did the teach beforehand, and you think...
They did the teach right before playing with completely new players. And I'm pretty sure, when did that start? It was a 9 a.m. start?
I think we totaled it was 11 hours from start to finish.
Yeah,
roughly,
I think we were about 3 hours into the 24-hour board game marathon, and I was speaking to one of the players outside, and they said, "Yeah, we've almost finished the teach now." It's wow, it's taken you longer to do the teach than most games take to play. Yeah. So I think it was a 24-hour board game marathon, so they had as much time as they wanted. I guess that's the time to do a complete run through, but under normal circumstances. Games like that, you just watch it, and for TI it probably will be at least an hour of video that you'll need to watch, or several 20-minute videos.
Not really, not with that particular game. Again, if you come with the core concepts of what tactical actions are, what strategic actions are, what this, then we can get you the rest.
And you can refer to the flow charts and stuff, can't you? Here's how a turn works.
The difference is it depends what type of player you are. So
I was just about to say.
If you're the type of player that wants to have their most efficient game on game one, and we have a few of those in our group, by the way, then
they might need to do a bit more homework.
100%. 100%. But if you got the type of player who's kind of happy just to, like me, push buttons, and you're not going to win.
See what happens.
You're not going to win in your first game. It doesn't matter. I'm here to play the game and just, chaos theory it through until the end.
See, I find for me personally, I do still benefit from doing the homework, but not because I necessarily want to have, perfect game one, or definitely not because I think I'm going to win anything. But for me, it's more about having that comfort of familiarity and kind of, even if I don't fully appreciate how everything in this game hangs together, I know what these things are that you're talking about. Yes. So that when you're reminding, it's more that the teacher's a reminder, a refresher, rather than learning for the first time. Because, and I know, Becky, you probably feel the same way, that when you're playing a game for the first time, the thing that I don't like about it is not knowing whether what I'm doing is good or not, or why I should be doing things, or why I shouldn't be doing things.
It's the why, yeah.
And so if I've kind of, boned up on the mechanics beforehand, so that I've got some idea of what can happen, it frees up a bit of, a bit of mind space to think about, well, what should I be trying to do now?
Yeah, and I think it depends whether the player is an experienced board game player.
True.
I mean, maybe some people could handle reading a rule book, and that might be useful to them if they're already aware of what certain terms are. Like, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but if you already understand the premise of turn order and this equals it, then I think
and
that's
different
be
people
helpful.
learn different ways, right?
Yeah.
I've seen plenty of people that, again, I bring things back to Netrunner a lot, but, things like the structure of a run in Netrunner, a lot of people will look at the way that's codified in the official rules and just kind of glaze over, because it's a lot of steps and it's a lot of complexity.
About 4 pages.
But then you show them a flowchart and something that's really simple, or you show them a 5-minute video that shows how a run works. So it's just horses for courses as well, to an extent, I think.
Yeah, I think for me, now I understand board games a bit more, maybe I could cope with reading a game because I would understand some of the major terms. But if you're fairly new and you're trying to teach someone a fairly complex game, which is totally fine, I'm not saying you have to start with a really, really basic game, but I think a knowledge of other games definitely builds up your understanding.
There's a lot of crossover in mechanics, isn't there?
I think I've got an example that kind of sums this up to some extent, is that I've played board games for a long time. I've played a lot of war games. A lot of the manuals read the same and all that kind of stuff. But I've never, as far as I'm aware, played a trick-taking game. So someone said, we might play The Crew.
Yeah.
It's a trick-taking game. And I was like, I don't know what that means.
What's a trick-taking
Like,
game?
I have, as I say, I've played like worker placement, action, like anything involving like to hit and wound modifiers and that from war games. I've got all that in my head. I can normally read a rule book and go, that's what that means. I've never played a trick-taking game, don't even know where to start. Someone would have to teach me trick-taking from the basis.
Yes.
And I would consider myself a relatively experienced gamer. If you've got that first person walking through the door and sitting down at your table, if you have to explain the basics of, right, okay, so we're going to take turn after turn, which a lot of people will forget in Teach. I've done it plenty of times, is okay, it's one at a time. We take each a turn or whatever, and you sometimes forget to add that in. You've got to do all of that for a brand new player. A more experienced player can sort of like put the sort of the gaps, fill in the gaps, and like read between the lines of what you're saying. Definitely.
Someone more experienced, if you tell them, this is a worker placement game, they already know what to expect, and they'll project that onto what they see. They know that they're going to have some resources that they're going to place out there that are going to do things.
The block space of other people,
And
I think it can be quite sort of off-putting for, say, a new player. This kind of, it might not be intentional, but that kind of gatekeeping of, well, I need to actually explain all these terms to you.
There's a lot of jargon.
Yeah, there is. And I think, if you were fairly new to a group, just thinking, actually, I don't know what trick-taking is, for example. And actually, I am one of those people. I don't know what trick-taking is either.
I didn't until I got The Crew.
But
it's quite an old term, right? It's more of an old card game,
game.
if you play like Whist and stuff.
And I'm happy holding my hands up going, no idea what's happening, know nothing right now. And that's fine, I don't mind that. But I know a lot of people would be very, very uncomfortable doing that. And I think that's what makes a really good teacher for me, is someone that does take time to check the person's understanding already, and not just like, well, this equals this, da 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 da, there you go. It's do you get what the point of that is? Do you see why I'm... And
that's the other thing about the teach, right, is that it goes beyond the teach. You can't think of the teach as being the first X minutes of the game where you explain it. It carries on throughout the game as well.
And way before.
And way before, but way after. You could be halfway through the game, and again, I'd say that JP's very good at this. He's always making sure that everyone understands what's going on, that no one is sat there going, huh? What did he just do?
It's purely selfish, because I want the game to end at some point.
No, I don't think that's true.
I think it's altruistic. I think you want everyone to have a good time.
That is your prime directive for board gaming, I think. You want to make sure
prime directive in life.
You want to make sure that people are having a nice time, and that's what makes you such a good host and such a good teacher. I think I don't know if Adrian's ever taught me a game. Yeah, only basic one, but I think
he's very good.
Yeah, his special kind of ability is making sure that you see right to the heart of it really quickly and explaining the minutiae of a game, but in a way that doesn't make you feel like your head's about to explode.
Adrian makes board game resources, laminates them, and then brings them.
That was the Great Walls. That was like, talk about prepping. I prepped that game hard because I was genuinely terrified to teach it. I think I said it on the previous episode. Is for me, I can teach a game much better when I've prepared for it. Even games I've played before 2 or 3 times, if I get 20 minutes even beforehand to think about a game and how I'm going to teach it, I can just structure it in my head, and I can do those things like I did earlier. You know, I can say, right, remember, theme first. So we're going to talk about the theme, then we're going to talk about the scoring points, then we're going to talk about... Like, I taught quacks, and my brain just went, right, what am I saying first? Okay, so we're at this alchemists festival or whatever, blah, blah. And then I immediately went off on something and had to pull myself back because I hadn't planned for it. And I think having a plan in your head certainly helps me. And this is why I laminate the resources off. I got the board out, put it on a table. I played a 3-handed game for 2 turns just to try and get it in my head as to exactly what it did. I watched several how to play videos. And I've done that for other things as well. Quite often, if I've not played it before, I just put it out. Even if I just put the board on the table and get the cards out, and then kind of go, right, okay, I can now read through this and see what everything does.
Yeah, even just leafing through components, like you say, if there's cards involved, just having a look at some of the cards and go, oh yeah, okay, so these would be good ones to use as an example. Because there's nothing worse during the teach than the person trying to teach you suddenly is like, oh, I'll show you an example of this, and then they're leafing through a 100-card deck, trying to find a good example. You know, having little bits of prep like that can make a big difference, I think. This
is why the teach starts when you get the game and it's delivered to you. That's when, for me, the teach starts, because like Adrian was saying, you get in the game, you're unboxing it, you're popping it, unless it's your husband.
And I'm popping it and loving it.
You are popping on his behalf. You're popping it, and even organising the game, and not going into the other episode about printing off your own organisers and leaving that well alone, but you just organise it into baggies or whatever. You need to have an understanding of how to group the components.
You have to teach yourself before you can teach anyone else, right?
So, you know, whether that's I'm going to group the components of player colour in one thing, I'm going to do this, whatever it is, then you kind of have to at least thumb through the rules at that point so you can store it properly. So that's kind of in my head. But yeah, I do that, Adrian. I do a multi-handed pre-run, and then it clicks. I go, got it. Got the turn structure in my head. I know how this works. I know how that works. I might not know every intricate rule. That's fine, but at least I get the flow. Until I get the flow of the game, then I kind of feel ready.
So, do you feel that playing like a learning game with noob? So you're playing like a learning game for yourself, like a one-person solo, playing multiple hands as a thing. So, do you think that playing a learning game with, like, say, a couple of dummy rounds or something, with all the cards exposed or everything open air, do you think that helps? Or is that something you try and avoid?
It can help, but again, it's time as a resource, isn't it? So if you've got the luxury of time and you can do like a round, and maybe, let's say there's 8 rounds in the game, maybe you play 1 round. Like, we're just going to play 1 round, and then we're going to reset back to round 1 and go again.
Or just ask if people want to reset. Sometimes people are really happy with what they've done, and you go, do you want to reset? And they all look at each other and go, no, let's keep going.
I've got the best card in the
this
pack.
Is amazing.
Does it also not probably depend a lot on the game itself,
100%.
right? Like, there are going to be some games that lean towards being suitable for that kind of, you know, dummy round, and there's others where, you know, again, a TI, we're not going to do a dummy round of TI before we start playing TI.
We're not rebuilding that map again.
No, exactly.
It's not happening.
And Curly makes a good point. He wanted me to add at this point, because he is my primary teacher, I guess. And he thinks that doing dummy rounds and stuff is really helpful because it makes people actually interact with the tokens and each other, but primarily with the game. So it kind of...
Learning by doing.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone, he was saying yesterday, everyone learns by doing to a degree. But I think actually keeping people's interest and touching the card and doing that sort of thing.
I think that's an important part of the teach. I've seen a lot of people not do it. Turn over the cards. Show people what are on the cards. The number of people I've seen teach a game and they've not turned over a single card to show you what's on the other side. Or just turn it over. Right, okay, this is the structure of the card. Here's where your purchase points are. Here's where... I'm just going to use It's Wonderful World because it's in my head. Which is here's what you build. Here's what you recycle. Here's the bonus you get from it. You can literally put them on a table, put a copy of each of the type of cards out and go, right, this is what all of these cards look like. Rather than trying to explain it to someone without turning a card over. It seems like such a simple thing, but I've seen it forgotten.
Yeah, it does
so many times.
I've forgotten to do it many times.
Yeah.
And you go,
I know when I've taught people Netrunner in the past, which is my main exposure to teaching people a game outside of Crokinole, which
Yeah,
that's a very lightweight teach. You can basically just start playing and teach them as you go. Yeah.
There's 3 rules.
Keep your bum on the chair. You know, flick it. Go.
Yeah.
But,
not flick your bum. Don't flick your bum. That's not the game.
Well, I mean, you can flick your bum if you want, but it's not going to help you with crokinole. Or maybe it will. Who knows? Anyway, teaching Netrunner. I mean, obviously that's a niche case because it's a card game. So I mean, to try and teach Netrunner without turning over any cards would be just insane.
Yeah. Just trust me. Don't look at the cards.
But I found that is one of the most valuable parts of that teach is when you do exactly that. You go, right, this is an agenda, this is an asset, this is a piece of ice, this is your identity. And you get the different types out, maybe a few of each different type, so they can see the similarities, they can see the differences. And like you say, Adrian, you go through, right, this is the cost, this is this is that. And that seems to be the point where it clicks for a lot of people, almost to the point where I've had teaching games before where I'll have another deck separate to the ones we're playing with, and we can leave them out so people can refer back to it and remind themselves, oh yeah, that, you know, on this, which is the res cost and which is the, so they don't have to in the middle of the game show me their hand and ask the question. They can just be like, okay, so on this card, how does this work?
That's a great point actually for competitive games where you've got hidden information, because you got a lot of players who really want to ask the question, but they don't want to give away their secrets.
Yeah.
So I quite like that. That's a good tip.
But back to JP's point, that is the point of a host, especially in a co-op game. You know, if you want to have all the information open, you can do. But if you've got a co-op game, you're teaching to a lot of new people at the same time. You've got to have it in your head what everything is, so you can explain it. Even if it's not a co-op game, if something's about to get flipped that people might not have seen the symbols, asking people, is everyone happy with the iconography? It goes more than just, as we sort of said, from that start of the game. And it can be, I'm just as guilty as anyone else. You get kind of caught up in the heat of battle a little bit. And once the game started, you can kind of forget that you're teaching. But it's important to keep reminding it. And if anyone's got questions, then it's your responsibility to step in and answer those questions.
You can, and I've done this so many times when you're teaching, end up sacrificing your own game of your first play. Because you're invested in trying to get everyone else around the table to have a great time. And you get to the end of the game, usually everyone's kicked your ass. And you're like, oh shit. Yeah.
This sounds a lot like an excuse for
a little
losing.
bit. Yeah, but it's not the only excuse. But sometimes I've had games, I think Perseverance episode 2 was one.
Well, I thought episode 1, you were so busy trying to teach the game, and I remember thinking, is he remembered he's supposed to be playing?
Yeah, it's like, why is he making suboptimal moves? It's like, is everyone all right? Is everyone, there's dinosaurs over there? But yeah, it can happen a lot. But for me, I don't kind of care. Because like, again, if everyone goes away from the table going, thumbs up, had a great time, regardless whether you kind of love the game or not love the game, we enjoyed just the play.
This is the thing.
I
think
that's a job done in my book.
I think in this group, despite, you know, we've got plenty of players who are very competitive and who like to win, I don't think we've got anyone in this group who plays because they want to win. Like,
I will make a similar noise.
Well, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with being competitive and wanting to win, but I think we've got a set of personalities in the group whereby even if they never won, like I do, they would still enjoy playing.
Yeah. And
that's kind of the point, isn't it? That's what you're saying, JP, is that you sort of don't mind if you've sacrificed your play as long as everyone's enjoyed it.
But that's my personality more than it is anything.
If you want a good version of... There's 2 good versions of how to let go of games. Paul Grogan, I'm going to bring him up because he is literally... Right, shall we get on? I'm not going to explain all the iconography or what everything does. Put your worker on a spot and we'll tell you as you go. That will loosen you up a little bit. But John Gets Games, he plays 3-handed or 2-handed quite often.
He does,
and one of them is always just random stuff to show you what everything does. But it does kind of put you in that mindset of, just pull those levers and all that kind of stuff. And then you're in that mindset for being taught a game and it being a teaching game rather than like the super competitive game it is. They're my 2 people who I quite often watch them and think, this is how you should probably approach a first game.
So coming on to that, what are people's favourite kind of resources then? So YouTube is a massive one for me personally. John Gets Games is one of my favourites as well, and Watch It Played. I really like those sort of channels. They are brief, which for me is really important. If the length, if the length of the video is more than about 15 minutes. I kind
20 minutes about my cop. I'm like,
I'm happy to then watch another one, which may delve into
That's
a different...
what's wild, isn't it? It's like, I'll watch 2 10-minute videos, but I see a 20-minute video, I'm like,
I'm the same. Like, I think John Gets Games is really good. I think it's probably really good if I wanted to buy the game and see how it worked and how
Yes.
it played. If I wanted to learn it ready for a game night, a game that I don't own, and I see it's an hour and 10 minutes, I'm like, personally.
Yeah.
And I just need enough of a primer to get me to show up and actually not be rude.
Yeah, I think Rodney Smith is probably most people's pinnacle of
Yeah.
how to teach a game. He has the structure of how you teach a game correct. For me, I think the way most people probably would want it doing. So he's my normal. If he hasn't got a video out, then as I say, not just if he hasn't got a video out. Quite often I'll then do John Gets Games and Paul as well.
Yeah.
On gaming rules, but I'm not too put off by the length if I know it's a heavyweight game. So there's like heavy cardboard, and there's another one who I always forget who does like Axis and Allies War of the Ring, does really heavy games, and he quite often splits them into 2 or 3 15 to 20 minute parts,
Right.
and you're like,
I prefer that.
Isn't.
It feels a bit more bite-sized.
This is
I
an
can see myself
hour-long
watching
game,
that.
like an hour-long teach to see it, but I know that he's going to go through everything. I can watch bits again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If I'm teaching it out to someone, those are the resources where I don't mind like putting a little rewind in.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I didn't get that. I've got the board in front of me and I still didn't get it. Let's have a look and see.
Do we think sending like PDFs of the rulebook to people is helpful?
I
Or
don't think anyone will read them unless it's your game. Personally,
Some rule books are written terribly, so that doesn't help in the first place. That's
Yeah.
You're there for the teach.
Yeah.
Like, it's
And
my
al-
game.
and
I'm
also-
going to teach you.
Those things you can have there on the day of the event.
Reference.
Like you don't need to give someone the iconography glossary or the turn structure in advance. It just needs to be there to refer to when they're playing.
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I enjoy reading rule books, but when it's my game,
Rock
It's
and
true,
roll.
true. But when it's my game and I'm learning it, then I'm loving life.
Yeah.
Give me a
Yeah,
cup
yeah.
of coffee,
But that's
and
because
that's my Sunday.
it's
you know?
contributing towards your prime directive, isn't
Absolutely,
it? Because
yeah.
you know that by learning the rules, you're going to help everyone have a better time.
But I don't like
Whereas
reading
when
other
it's
people's
someone
stuff.
else's game,
I'm not interested.
you learning the rules isn't going to help people have a better time.
No.
So you're not bothered about it because you're happy to just pull the levers when you
Absolutely,
get there.
100%.
And yeah,
It's figured me out.
I think Rob is really good at just kind of letting go of the first game, because he's just like, yeah, it's a teacher game, not bothered. And I wish I
Unless
could be
it's
more.
Captain Sonar.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I could be more like that.
Or Avalon.
Have you guys got any tips on how to make people just accept that the first game is
No.
just?
I've been trying 5 years.
People either have it in them to some ability and you can kind of crank that ability up, remind them, or don't forget that you can do this and you can do that, and kind of try and suggest that they pull all the levers of the game, because some games are, right, I've got the one thing I'm doing, I'm going to do it over and over again, or I'm going to do 2 or 3 things. Getting them to kind of interact with every deck of cards or whatever can be quite good. Or they're just not on that scale at all and they are going to play it hell for leather for straight first game, and in which case there's not much you can do to say don't do that.
Yeah.
About everyone's reason for gaming. And I mean, most of the people in our group are there for the social interaction. It's probably the primary. But we're there to talk and have a good time. But when you're in your puzzle and you're in your mind palace and you're trying to work out what the hell you're doing, and people can't help it because they just want to min-max everything all the time.
So
and
My
what
mind
can you do?
palace is such a mess. I need to get a cleaner for my mind palace. There's meeples everywhere.
something we haven't really brought up yet is the whole quarterbacking, playing someone else's game for them as the teacher. You guys are both really good at not doing that, but that can be something that has been very detrimental to definitely my experience and learn of a new game.
So kind of like alpha gaming, kind of taking over a new player's turn for them because you think you're trying to help them.
Yeah.
But
We had a situation actually that happened in Tricarion with Jay, and we was all playing the game, and Jay was doing something. I mean, it's his first game, and it's Tricarion, it's heavy, right? And I thought, well, I'm teaching him, so I was offering, you could absolutely do what you've just done, but just so you know, there are these other things that you can do, that not like they're definitely more efficient, but actually just to kind of help him in his game, and he didn't spot it.
Just a prompt.
And he didn't, and actually, it was at the detriment to me as to the player. Right, so
You
I
helped
could've
him
shut
out
up.
and screwed yourself over.
I could have shut up and gone.
That's
I'm
not the
gonna screw
JP
him.
way, though.
No, but I thought it's his first game, and I thought I'd help him out a little bit if he wanted it. So I asked him, "Do you want some advice?" If he's like, "No, I'm doing my own game," I'm like, "Good, because I can."
I'm going to
I'll
crush
ruin
you.
But no, he said, "Yeah, go for it."
Yeah.
So it is quite weird when you're trying to play a game and you're offering advice to people, your opponents, to screw you over.
At your own detriment. Yeah.
Especially if someone's playing the first game. I don't like, in the nicest sense, like, whether you win or not in the first game is kind of irrelevant, but I'd rather someone didn't lose 4 turns of the game because they accidentally gave away all their wood to some part of the space
when they didn't need to.
That's the key thing that they're trying to go over for something that's going to give them victory points. You go, well, just so you're aware, that kind of might do this. Totally up to you, but just to make you aware that you do need to hold on to 6 bits of wood to achieve your objective.
Yeah.
Giving it all away might be hard to get back later, and just kind of giving them that prompts. And there's like levels you can do that. You can be a bit pushier, and you get right up to this is your turn, just to let you know. And then you can do it all the way back to, oh, okay, fair enough. Have you thought of this? And there's kind of all those scales in between that, you know, you can kind of call on depending upon.
Because I've done it. I've literally turned around and said, guys, what would you do if you were me now? Like, what should I do? Because I'm completely stumped.
But if you've asked for it, and that's I think that's the point of, you know, about talking about quarterbacking, stuff like that, is people who ask for it, fine. Give them whatever level of information you want to that you're happy giving. If they don't ask for it, ask the question first, or give them the vaguest of nudges in the right direction, and kind of then leave them to the rest of the game until they ask again.
You have to wear those multiple hats as the teacher, which is all right. I need to take my player hat off for the moment, put my teacher hat back on, and then kind of go, right, I'm with you. Like, I'm
and then you put your player hat back on and go, oh, what have I done?
Why did I do that? I've lost. But it's, you know, it's all for the greater good, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what you keep telling yourself. That's how you sleep at night.
I think, is it more helpful if you've got a lot of new learners? Because then you can be very generic with your own advice. Like in your example earlier, Adrian, you could say, don't forget everybody that we need to keep an eye on how much of one resource we have, rather than making perhaps some one person feel like you are playing their game. Is it easier having lots of newbies? Or
depends on who it is, in all fairness. I don't know if it's easier or harder. I think it's actually on the reverse. So as being the player that's the only new player coming in to play a game but everyone else knows it, is quite daunting.
Yeah, I have felt that personally a lot of times.
I don't want to slow the game down. I don't want to be that person. Yeah. And you've got to kind of put them at rest and say, look, don't worry about it. And usually everyone's pretty cool and gets on with it. But I think you know, you teach in one person or you teach in 3, you might just get more questions from people. It's still the kind of same process, really. If
people are worried about it or whatever, you can suggest a solo teach. Turn up 10 minutes early.
Yeah, I do.
You've done that a few times for myself, because, like, again, when I first turned up to the group, my knowledge of the games you guys played was quite different to the games I'd played before. Yeah. And so every game was like, right, everyone else has played it but me. And JP would say, well, turn up 10 minutes early and I'll teach you that. Yeah. And then you can kind of go into it feeling a bit more on a level playing field, and like you're not holding the game up.
It's kind of like a dummy run then, isn't it? Again, you've had that pre-primer.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most annoying thing as a teacher? I think I'm guilty of doing this, where if someone else is teaching, I can't help but chip in with some irritating little, oh yes, but look, and I'm trying to pull the word back out of my mouth because I know how annoying it is.
I know that I do this as
when someone is teaching.
Terrible habit. I know.
When someone's teaching, it's like let them get on with it. They'll probably come to that point.
Part of it in my mind is because I'm trying to reinforce my own understanding. Yeah. So I'm kind of chipping in to sort of say, and that means this, doesn't it? Kind of thing. But actually, what I'm probably doing most of the time is detracting from what that person is trying to teach the other person. So
I think like what Adrian was saying earlier, there's a methodical process that I know I go through, and I know you go through, in terms of how you teach a game. You know, starting with setting the scene. Like, what the friggin' hell's the theme of this game? Why is this game even a game? You know, we're Vikings. So
go on, then give us that for a Zuul. What's the
theme? Portuguese tile. Tilers.
Oh yeah, that's
that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah, and how does that tie to the game mechanics?
I've done that before. Right, the theme is It's a Wonderful World. The theme is you're building an empire. That's about as good as the theme gets. Right, let's move on to. You can look at all the nice, pretty pictures. Now let's move on to.
All the theme is
the scoring, or what the ultimate point is. But it can go from that all the way up to, like, I did Cracks and Quedlinburg, and I was like, right, so we're all alchemists. There's a 9-day fair, and what we're trying to do is make the best and I proper was just like, let's like layer it on and really give. But you can choose anywhere in that, depending upon.
Some people like that.
Yeah.
And some people just get onto the mechanics, you know. So it just depends.
Again, on the group, normally it's a minute max that you're setting the scene. Exactly. Like, people can get over a minute normally, I find.
But I think the point is, to go to answer your question, is it because we've got a methodical process, and hopefully, not always, because we forget stuff, right? Hopefully we'll cover all the aspects that we're going to cover, but we have a methodical process. It's because we in our heads we know where we're going to get to, and then someone will go, how's that work? What's this icon mean? I'm going to get there, and it's just, it can be quite jarring, and then you end up losing your place in the teach, and it's like, oh, shit, I've missed something.
If you've prepped it, you've put it in a certain order, because that's the order that it probably makes sense, at least to me, to teach it in, so I can teach it in bits and pieces. I'll be honest, the what does that do point at the board is much less annoying than someone who is spending their time on their phone, talking to their mate.
100%. Yeah. They're not even there, are they?
Eating the dinner at the table as the teacher's going on, and then spends the next 3 turns going, what does that do? Or even worse, and I've done this because I did this at Champions of Midgard, I zoned out for a solid 5 minutes during the scoring of a teach. Couldn't tell you where I was or what was happening, but I totally missed the scoring. And then at the end of it went, you didn't tell me about this. And everyone else went, yeah, they did. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll put my hands up. That's my fault. I must have clearly zoned out for a solid 5 minutes of the teach.
But your voice is so boring, JP.
But that's my pet hate, is when someone spends their time on their phone or completely distracted from the game during the teach, and then will spend the next 3 turns asking, well, what does that do? What does this do? If you've paid attention, you're asking those questions, fine, because you've paid attention, you've probably genuinely forgotten, or there was a lot to learn. Yeah. But if you've not even paid attention, I'm just going to make the assumption that you would have learnt it if you were paying attention, and now everything is just annoying.
And that for me falls into the same bucket as if the host has shared a video, it's polite to watch that video and to try and at least absorb some of it. If the host is going to take the time to teach you the game, have the good decency to listen to what they're saying.
There are the people that don't need to.
Yeah, there are people who don't need to.
They can come.
That's fine.
And they get games. They just get it.
We know they are. We know they are.
They've had the hodgepodge of all of the things, and they can get there. Yeah, we know they are.
He says through gritted teeth.
Yeah, even those people quite often will need at least a bit of steering. They may be able to zone out for the bits of, this bit is where you draw 4 cards and put 3 at the bottom or whatever, because they can see the symbols, and that clearly says 4 draw cards. But they would still need a basic understanding of the game.
100%.
So that's my annoyance with teaching games.
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up that I can think of.
Yeah, we can talk about teaching.
I was going to say, unless you go from the through the steps, but go on YouTube and there's a video from Paul Grogan about how to do that. There's a video from Quinn's.
Shut up, sit down is good.
On how to do that, and that was really good. I really helped that. I really found that helpful. And there was a video from someone else. I want to say Man vs Meeples, Jeremy, I think. Yeah. But don't quote me on that. But I'm sure someone on that channel did a really good sort of teach as well. Just watch those. They'll tell you more about the structure than they will than we can probably go into detail about here.
Cool. So that's kind of point people in the right direction if they want to get better at teaching, or they've got that pesky person in the group like me who doesn't like to learn new things. Well, no, that's not true. I like to learn. Doesn't like to have to learn.
You're doing a pretty good job of it. To be fair.
So, on to our questions. This week it comes from our own James Davey again, and he asks, is box art important? And what is more important, aesthetics versus core gameplay? If you would like to ask us a question that we can answer in the podcast, contact us and we'll shout out all our socials at the end of the episode. So guys, box art is important.
I think I was going to say, we definitely need more questions if we're getting our own podcast players to be putting questions.
If we're scraping the barrel with Davey questions.
It sounds like we are, don't we? But anyway, so box art, is it important? No.
Oh, for me. Couldn't disagree more. More.
I look past it. I play games like Gaia Project.
It's all about whether you can look past it, isn't it? Because
I can.
If you're browsing through games on an online retailer, or you're in a physical shop, or you're on Board Game Geek or whatever, what you're going to see first is the box, right?
You're right. You're right.
It's that kind of judging a book by its cover. You're right. It shouldn't matter, should it? But I'm kind of with Becky that I think it would. The box art is going to tell me a lot about what that game is, even though I should be able to look past it.
So this is more about what's your kind of first touch point with new games than anything else for me, because my first touch point is I hear about games not by looking at box art covers. I hear about games because they're mentioned in the new hotness for Essen releases. Yeah. They're mentioned by content creators or whatever. So my first experience is probably a video or nice artwork off the board or it being played. Then this is the box
or
art.
an article where you're getting way more context than just the box.
So that's why it's not important to me. It's because I don't walk into shops and go, that looks pretty, I'm going to pick it up and have a look. That's just my
I think the board game market is so saturated though. If you know you're going to put people off straight away by something rubbish on the box, why do it to yourself?
So project.
Well, I haven't seen the box art to which you are referring.
It's not the worst.
It's not the worst, but it's also far from good.
I'm going to have to look it up because I've never seen this box art, and I sense that
I have a problem with the art in Gaia Project full stop, let alone just the box art. But
so I've got the perfect example of how I couldn't have been more wrong. So I'd been looking at Lords of Waterdeep on our shelf on the Kallax for ages. And I just thought, no, that game's not for me. Couldn't have less interest in it at all. Yeah. And, it's the kind of things that I'm vaguely interested in. But the artwork, oh my lord, awful. Couldn't, this is not, I mean, the pictures are fine. I'm not, saying the artist is
about
crap.
to have a bunch of artists come out with pitchforks.
The pictures are fine. The pictures are fine. They're just so unrepresentative of what the game is about.
Yeah.
I couldn't be less
should be
relevant.
More cubes on the box, shouldn't there?
Well, it looks like it's full of fighty action. It is not. The game is not full of fighty
Talk about
action.
Scythe and the big stompy robots. I had exactly the same experience with Scythe, where I thought it was all about big stompy robots and storytelling narrative, and it's not. I think you're right though. A box can be influential.
Yeah.
In your opinion of it, I'm kind of on the same lines as JP in the fact that I get a lot of what I want to buy next from the likes of Board Game Geek, from watching YouTube, I listen to a lot of podcasts. So I get a lot of my information without having any visual aspect at all.
Yeah. That's helpful, isn't it? That
it
stops it being influential.
But
wait a minute. There's other podcasts?
There are other podcasts,
I don't think so. I think you've made a mistake, mate.
So moving on from box art then, do we think the aesthetics of a game versus the core gameplay are like 100% important or not important at all?
They have an importance, definitely. Because otherwise you'd just be playing on white paper.
Yeah, I think we all know mine.
Games still could be fun though.
That's food chain magnet, isn't it? And it's playing on a bit of paper with a grid on it.
A little bit, yeah. Sorry, it just brings back horrible memories.
Which it seemed like such a shame because I felt like I liked the sort of toned back aesthetic that's in food chain magnet.
Functional, isn't it?
It's functional, but just little flourishes would have brought that game up a little bit more for me, rather than just literally squares on a bit of white paper.
Yeah. See, the thing is, it's really easy to think of examples of great games with great art. Let's say like Wingspan. I think is a good recent example. It's really easy to think of great games with bad aesthetics. Because we remember them for being great games.
I think it doesn't have to be a beautiful game. So the games I really like often have got very beautiful artwork. But it's not just about the artwork for me. It's about, does the stuff make sense?
Yeah.
Is the user interface obvious?
It's the combo.
Yeah. Have you got lots of things that are all the same colour that shouldn't be the same colour? I remember Adrian brought that up as a real detriment of one of the games, and I can't think which one it was now.
There's a few of them. It's probably Dune Imperium.
Yes, it was Dune Imperium. But I think if it's been well designed, that's what annoys me the most. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be shiny. It doesn't have to have cute little animals or whatever. Those things are all good. But it doesn't.
Graphic design clear.
Has somebody thought about this? But I find it almost as annoying if the inserts are badly designed, because you think, it's so good to design inserts. Speaking as a type of a person that likes to design inserts, that should have been easily done.
Yeah,
they've got all the.
You see something go wrong that you feel like should have been so easy to get right. That starts to make you worry. Well, where else have they cut corners?
Yeah, that's what makes me that's what I find off-putting about games. Like I say, it doesn't have to have the best artwork. Like one could argue that Zuuli, all right, the artwork is cute, but you could have photos of the animals, for example, which might be more appealing to some people, but everything makes sense. All the icons make sense. Yeah. Everything is very, obvious.
Coherent. Yeah.
I think, aesthetics is what gets you to play the game.
Yeah.
First time. And the gameplay is what makes you return to it.
Yeah.
Is how I see it.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, you can't really sell the gameplay until you play.
No.
and you can't play until you've bought the game. So how do they get you to buy the game? Make it look good.
So we've decided it's kind of a mix then. Is our answer.
I think they're both important, but if you ask me which one's more, it's gameplay.
Yeah, that, like you said, that is what's going to bring you back, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. For our penultimate turn then, what events do we have coming up in the calendar that we're excited for? I'm going to just bring out their GRIDCON because it's not that far away.
From when this is released.
From when this is released. It's not that far away from now. And I was just thinking the other day, I can't wait to be back in another little
convention.
A little convention. So it's on November the 11th to the 13th, and it's a convention run by Paul Grogan from Gaming Rules, who we've mentioned earlier. This year it's held in Taunton, which is
I'm so excited.
which is
Walking distance.
which is great for us. Yeah,
It's when he said, it's like, right, I'm moving it to Taunton. It's like, result.
so yeah,
Result.
it's within a few miles of all of us,
Yeah,
so that is really
absolutely.
good. So yeah, just looking forward to being in a space surrounded by like-minded people like we had at the UKGE. It's just a really lovely feeling, isn't it? When you're passionate about something, knowing you're stood in a queue, even for like something random like a drink or something, you know that the person in front of you and behind you has that same passion, and it's really nice.
Yeah, I went last year. It's great. It's my first convention just for kind of open gaming.
Yeah.
But I think Paul does a cracking job, and me and you, Adrian, we talked to Paul about it on the expansion pack episode we did with him. So if you want to learn more about the GRIDCON from the man himself, go check that episode out. There's a little callback. But no, it's just fun. You get to meet loads of new people, and I encourage that. I think from all of us in the group that are going, the temptation would be for us to stick together for the whole weekend. And I actually would say, don't do that. If you're a bit afraid of that, go with a mate, but split up and just go and play things.
I'll talk to anyone that will talk back.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the mate side. I might drag someone along to try a game with me, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
But that's the joy of it, isn't it? You know that everyone is in a similar supportive kind of
yes, absolutely.
group, which is really, so I think that barrier of, actually, I'm a bit reluctant to go out there and put myself out there. I think in safe spaces like that, it's really good. On that note, can anyone recommend any games bags or something equivalent to transport lots of games in?
I've got one.
You've got one?
Board game tables.
Okay.
Do one. They've just announced some behemoth that you can store one of their collapsible gaming tables. It's massive.
Really?
Yeah. I couldn't work out if it was a joke or not. And I was like, it must be. But then I saw it in a couple of places and I thought, maybe it's not.
It's real.
But they do a premium bag. It's padded. I've carted around like some really heavy games, like filled it to the brim, heavy games, put the backpack straps on, carried it across Taunton, which is not small, it's not massive, it's not London, but it's not small either.
No.
And the straps are still holding up, all the zips hold up. It's padded enough for me, and I'm quite precious about the state of my board games. So that'd be my recommendation.
The state of your shoulders.
And less passionate about that.
So if anyone out there who's listening can send some recommendations in. I have actually seen some people recommend cajon drum bags.
Yeah.
Which is like
that would work. It's like a kind of
square.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm looking for is a Kallax cube or two that I can
With
put
straps.
over. Yeah, that I can put over my shoulders. But yeah, if anyone else can recommend some non-cajon drum bags or anything else, then please get typing and let us know. What are you looking forward to, Ian?
So I have got myself signed up for a game night.
However, which one?
It's Netrunner.
Oh yeah, because it's the one you asked me to put in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I do want to get signed up for Ark Nova at some point as well. We'll have to get that.
You
in
have
the calendar.
requested that. So.
But yeah, we've got a Netrunner night in the calendar, which is very exciting.
Can't wait.
I can't say that I literally haven't played Netrunner for 2 years, but I almost haven't played Netrunner for 2 years, maybe even 3 years. It's been a long time since I've played in person. So I'm really excited for that. And there's lots of new cards that I'm not even aware of that I've bought and have been gathering dust in the corner of my office. So yeah, we've managed to get 4 people together as well. So we're going to have 2 games.
Yeah, 2 dual games.
Should be good. I look forward to getting my ass whooped.
I doubt it, mate. I can't hardly remember the game, let alone being good at it. But
ditto.
Yeah, well, there we go. Equally shit.
But yeah, then in addition to that, yeah, absolutely getting Ark Nova on the go. I've heard nothing but good things, so I'm excited for that.
Cool.
JP, what about you?
I want to talk about Riffle.
Riffle?
I
do not know what this is.
Your new gear lock?
I am so excited, right, that this new gear lock has appeared out of nowhere, literally nowhere, and is basically going to be the last gearlock that I say the last gearlock they're going to do. It's their planned last gearlock they're going to do, and he was unlocked by a puzzle. For those that don't know, Too Many Bones games comes with a riddle. Every one of their base game expansions has a riddle. You've got to kind of find an entrance to a website URL, and once you're in there, there's a series of questions and puzzles, and you have to kind of figure out. They're very good, and me talking about them probably means I'm going to get shot by Chip Theory Games because they're very, very secretive. When you unlock them, you get promos and you get some
Easter eggs, basically.
You get loads of cool stuff. So basically, in the latest pop-up book, sounds mental as I talk about this, but the pop-up book that they've done called The Automaton of Shale, there's a puzzle in that, and when 500 people have cracked that puzzle, they've unlocked this gearlock to basically be purchased.
Nice.
And that just literally happened, well, when this podcast goes out, probably about 7 months ago, I don't know. And Riffle is basically a new gearlock. Normally gearlocks come with 16 dice. This new character comes with 10, but he has a deck of 52 cards, like a standard playing card deck. And his whole thing is about basically playing these cards like poker suits, 4 of a kind, royal flushes, all that kind of stuff, and doing abilities with the game. I'm all over it.
Yeah, I'm sold.
I'm all over
me
it.
on this.
Yeah, more gearlocks. Yeah.
I like that kind of thrill of the hunt. That sounds very interesting. I like that.
But yeah, it's just cool. I'm just really, I thought I was done by getting the Unbreakable expansion.
You thought you were done,
which I haven't
with
got
Too
yet
Many Bones.
because it's on the way. And then they released this new one. I'm like, yeah, gotta do it. I'm already in.
I can't wait for when we get to like episode 300 and JP's like, well, obviously it's the last gearlock coming out now. I thought I was done with Too Many Bones, but
Scribble and scribble and
you're like, we've reached the 40th expansion, and they're saying this is the last one.
Yeah.
My bank balance really hopes that it is.
I'll be living in the trove chest, which is now a house.
Yes, your garage will just be a huge trove chest.
Yeah. That's what I'm excited for.
Adrian, how about you?
Well, I'm looking forward to playing with JP under his new alias. Now he's got to go under witness protection for sharing Chip Theory secrets. That's what I'm looking forward to.
We're going to call him PJ.
PJ.
No, I bought Tuscany expansion for Viticulture recently.
Oh.
Yeah, I've not played it with the Tuscany expansion before. I've been told it's like a must-have upgrade. I've played
really
Viticulture about 3 or 4 times, so I bought Tuscany and I bought Visits to the Rhineland or whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's the Visitors to the Rhine Valley.
That's something like that, yeah. And it's basically, it makes the game more about producing wine than it does giving people tours of your cellar with just 1 bottle of wine in it.
And winning the game.
Chris is going to be upset then because that's his favourite way of winning.
Yeah, he does love
it?
to give a tour, doesn't he? What about the cheese expansion though? Is that not seen as being as good?
It's an older. Well, the weird thing with Viticulture is that the original version, before Essential Edition, came the Tuscany expansion had all the cheese and loads of modules.
Okay.
So they're now just print and plays.
Gotcha.
So the Tuscany Essential version just has the 3, basically probably the best modules.
Yeah, it's got a new board that divides it into 4 seasons instead of 2. Read the rules on that, very excited. That looks really good, and the wake up sequence changes slightly, which also looks really strong. You've got special worker meeples, which you deal 2 cards out of a deck, so it changes what special workers are available. And then the third one is the buildings that you can add in, which again, just adds another spot that you kind of have access to yourself. And so really looking forward to get that to the table. Really enjoy Viticulture and really excited to be playing with the kind of expansion that I've been told is an essential add-on once you've got a few games in, sort of thing. So yeah, that's what's on my up-and-coming radar.
And with that, our final turn is wrapping up. We've played the dummy round. I think we've worked out the most efficient way to score victory points. So basically, thanks to everyone for listening. If you've enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe and review on your podcast player of choice. And if you want to get in contact with the show on our socials to give us feedback, suggest episode topics you'd like to hear, or ask us questions, you can email us on players@whoseturn.co.uk. Check out our Facebook page on Whose Turn Is It Anyway podcast. Our Instagram page is at Whose Turn Podcast, and TikTok is at Whose Turn Is It Anyway. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode, so until then, whose turn is it?
Please ask us some questions, we're desperate.